त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनम् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्
Hi, this is Amelía Eon Karis.
Hey everyone, it's Satya, and you're listening to Love, Sex, and the Hidden Agenda. So it's been almost a year since the three of us have been together, actually, if you think about it. And we had to take a little break because of, well, a lot of different reasons. But I'm thinking now about like what you're talking about now, Joe, and what you're thinking about. It has so much to do with what was actually going on then. And so I think it'd be really interesting if we all talked about what we were going through at that time and because this podcast has been really affecting a lot of people's lives, and it's bringing in love, it's bringing in relationships, it's bringing in lessons, it's causing blocks to release. People are healing. And I know for sure that you were going through so much. And you guys, I don't know if you know, well, of course you don't, but we actually recorded some episodes of Joe where he was talking about some pretty personal stuff. And then we were just about to put them out, and he says, please no, please don't release these. Like, I'm not ready. And and so there was a lot going on with you. I mean, a lot. Wow. And so I want to talk about that. Like, I know you're ready now. That's why we all got together. You said that you, so I'm wondering, how did the podcast affect you? Like from beginning to like just that whole, even in that year, and what happened? Like, what did you attract into your life?
Yeah, it was a crazy thing, that podcast, and it seemed like what we were talking about would just come into our lives, to my life especially. And as a podcaster myself and running the Fringe FM and doing Lighting the Void, it was about that time I started to get attention from the female side of things, and in a way that this one person came into my life and just threw themselves at me, I was like, whoa, they threw themselves at me in a way where that had never happened to me before, right? And I thought, well, this person's kind of cute. They're real kind of feminine, which of course a man's attracted to that, right? And I felt that whole acceptance thing, like they don't just accept me, they really admire what I'm doing and all this stuff. So this is cool, right? And I thought immediately I need to like say my intention here. So I kind of flirted back a little bit, and then they just threw even more, like just sexual innuendo, like bam, bam, back. And it's when it's the first time that it happens to you as a man, you cannot help but be a little curious, right? Even though most men would be like, yeah, you always tell yourself, like, I don't know if I should talk to somebody like this. But the way that they were doing it, it seemed very confident. It seemed like, well, hey, I'm just this person that's confident with my sexuality. Are you not? And that's when the game started, right? Like the challenge kind of thing. Are you not comfortable with your sexuality and who you are? Because I can show you, right? And I was like, well, I want to be that way. I want to definitely be that way. And then it kind of led me down this path with this person where I'm trying to, here's the red flag that I should have like saw immediately. Because they immediately started coming at me with, well, I'm a victim of abuse and this and that. And they would keep saying I'm a victim of abuse. And I didn't really like understand what that meant. You know, I was like, oh, I'm sorry. This happened to you, this thing that she said that she was abused by her ex or whatever, which I still don't know if it's true or not.
Okay, I don't want to interrupt, but I'm going to, because I just thought I'd throw this in there. That when you look up on YouTube, like the 10 main signs of like a
Yeah,
sociopath,
I'm hitting them right,
a
probably.
sociopath or a narcissist, one of them is they will tell you they have a history of trauma, or they will tell you
Yeah.
that they have been wounded, or they've been sexually abused, or something like
Mhm.
that. Because that creates the trauma bonding, right? Like that for people who are caring, loving, codependent,
Yeah.
we want to like, oh, we want to love that
I want
person.
to fix. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
just saying, I'm not judging this situation or saying that that's the case. I'm just saying.
No, well, I didn't know that. I didn't even know what narcissism was, sociopath. I didn't know anything about this stuff. I just thought, well, this person's really opening up to me, and I should like help them, or I should show them, connect with them, because this is the kind of person that will really connect with me. And then they got into talking about this BDSM and the the hell's the name of that movie everybody watched, 50 Shades of Grey. It's like, oh, have you seen this movie? And I'm like, yeah, I've seen this movie. I watched it before. I kind of get it, like the whole dominant, submissive thing. I understand it, I'm like, oh, no, no, no. It's actually a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, right? Because you learn that you can really trust somebody, and it creates a bond that you'll never have with anybody ever, you know? And they were whole like just obsessed about this bond that you create with this thing, which is intriguing to me because I'm thinking, hey, from the time I was little, I wanted that kind of connection, you know. Um, this is this is where it gets weird, right? So there's a part of this BDSM culture that actually you do kind of start to feel like it does create a loving bond, but I don't think, I don't know. I don't want to judge anybody, but for me, like it slipped into something entirely different, right? So as this stuff went on, she would reveal more things to me, more things that I didn't want to judge. But at first, when I heard about them, I was like, really? Like daddy dom stuff. So they want you to be like their daddy, and they want you to talk to them like you're their little girl, and they want you to spank them, and they actually want you to get on to them all the time and boss them around, things like that. Whatever. This to me is like just play, right? It's play at first. And then as it kind of goes on, there were certain things that were asked of me that I just didn't want to do, that I didn't feel right about. I kind of questioned or I wouldn't do. Uh, and this person, I think they waited until till they started saying I love you and all the stuff. It's too long of a story to actually say the psychological side of it, but it's the whole falling in love thing, but it's really not falling in love. They're waiting for you to get to that moment to where you will start feeling that way, and then bring in all this other stuff, because now you care about them a lot, and now you really want to fix the situation, right? And every time I either refused to do those types of things or acted in a questioning type manner, well, you're not masculine enough, you're not dominant enough, I need a real man in my life. It's like, what? You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I am a real man. No, you're not. You're a little boy. You're just a weak little boy. Wait a minute. Last week you were crying, telling me you just loved me and you wanted to take care of me and all this other stuff, you know? So now I'm like, my heart's in my gut, you see? And they're creating this trauma in me. And now I feel like, well, no, no, no. I got to show her that I really do care. I'll do it. I'll do this. What do you want me to do? Does it really make you feel better? I mean, really? And so when you do something that you would never, it's hard to even say, when you would never normally do, right? And they've got that love hook into you. It causes a really weird thing to happen inside of you. It's something that will not go away until you face it. Like you have to face it. So, and to be honest with you, these I wouldn't have got out of there without divine intervention. I don't think I would have made it out of there without you guys. This is my point to understanding these energies, and I think we just need to help each other and realize we're all human and we make mistakes, you know. But it's like
Well, you know, and it's like we want love, like we want connection, we, you know, and when somebody, that kind of thing can make you feel so special, and it almost is becomes almost addictive. Like, I'm so special, this person makes me feel so special because there's these certain things that they're having me
yeah,
do
right.
that are so maybe strange or that I've never done before. And it's, yeah, and then it just creates
It's like
this.
a taboo. It's an intimate thing. You think it's intimate, right? Because you and that person do this and nobody else knows about it, but you and that person have this thing. That's the bond they're talking about, right? Right.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And then for all we know, that person probably has had that thing with a million people or a million other people the same,
Right.
or
Yeah.
whatever. But
Yeah. That's that's pretty much what ended up happening too. But so you go down the road of first, like it's kind of like when you get introduced to drugs. At first it's weed, then you do a little like, oh, here's a little cocaine, you know, oh, well, here's a little ecstasy. Oh, have you ever tried smack before? You know, so like in BDSM, you're just tying people up at first, or you know, whatever. You got spankings and tying people up, and then it goes to, well, what, you want me to actually hit you with a belt or something? You want me to what to you? You know, now you want me to call you my daughter and then do certain things that just don't feel right to me, you know. But what really is the messed up thing is there's people that do this that I don't judge, that maybe they do find love this way. I don't know. But in my case, this was a direct attack on my self-esteem, my manhood, who I really was, because this person was the flip opposite of my growing up, right? The masculine had let them down. And instead of admitting it and feeling that pain and going through it, they're going to take this out on men over and over again, right? They're going to like really hurt them because it makes them feel empowered. It fills their ego up, you know? And
tell me
so,
again how it was the flip opposite of what you.
well, so I go up to, I finally, they know me in a way that like I'm a family person. This person did get to know me. Like they know what's important to me. Come up here, we'll do Christmas and I'll make you dinner. And it's like a normal thing. And I really like the family type thing. Yeah, that sounds great. That'll get me on the airplane, you know? And then once it's like the salesman getting you in the door, right? So then once you get in the airplane, now I'm this far away from home. You got me all the way away from my home. And then they had me where they wanted me. And so it was like I found some things that kind of popped up that showed that they weren't as loyal as they said they were, that they were kind of doing what you were talking about. They were doing this not just with other people, but with multiple couples and groups and stuff like that, and had me thinking I was a special person that they loved and we had an intimate connection or something, right? And then I confronted them about it. And it was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like I finally got to see who this person really was. And they were like making me stand outside like I was a dog and all this other stuff, you know, trying to punish me. And luckily, I reached out to a very good friend who I still talk to today. And I was like, this is going on. I'm trapped out here and I don't know what to do. If that friend wouldn't have came along, I don't know how I would have got out of there, but I do know that I was leaving, you know, that I'm getting out of there. So I don't know. I mean, is there any questions y'all want to know other than that? Because
Well, yeah,
I
I
was
have a
in a dark
reflection.
spot then, you know, like
I have
really
a
dark spot.
reflection because I watched you attract this into your life. And I remember, you know, when we started the podcast, you really wanted a relationship. And then it was like we were talking about, you know, the parasite and the energy that feeds off of our sexuality. And then it was suddenly you had attracted this relationship into your life, and I was seeing red flags all the way, but you were so excited by it. And I was like, okay, he needs to explore this. And I don't want to judge it or assume I know, but I remember one of our recordings, I had to, I got very angry. I got super triggered, and I could feel that somehow this person was like feeding off your energy and all of our energy, and sort of like not allowing you to do your work. It was taking you down. Like it was to destroy
Definitely.
you in every way, because you were so lovesick in the sense that you weren't able to focus, you weren't able to do your work because she had you in this trauma bond. Like her flip outs and everything that was going on with her was like just taking you off your center completely.
Yeah,
and I got so triggered. I was like,
yeah, and she was getting, I remember she was getting really jealous that you were on the podcast with the two of us, and then you got you like 1 week you couldn't you couldn't record or something because you were just, you know, it was.
I had to walk on eggshells about everything I did, everything, you know, and it was to the point where they would do this, like, I would just say, hey, why are you upset? Well, I'm not upset, or you're crazy, or you're imagining things. And this whole, like, every time I expressed my feelings, I was nuts, crazy, or something was wrong with me, right? Severely, too, to a traumatic, something severely wrong with you, to a traumatic point of view. And it's like, you start really thinking, man, am I just this messed up person? But then there's this voice in the back of your head. It's like, no, you're not messed up, Joe. There's like, look at what you've been doing, right? Like this person is messing with you, and other people are telling you this too. They're like, this person is messing with you. They're screwing with you. And they have, it's like when someone really like gives you, especially me, like if I give you all of myself, it's over, you know. I like that's how it was. I gave my heart, soul, and mind to somebody, and they just took it and used it like it was a 20-ounce drink or something, you know. Um, and
yeah, and that's where you were lacking your own boundaries, and I think that's the like misleading idea of love, or the fairy tale that some of us bought into really young, is that we need to do that in order to keep someone, or that's what love is. And that's not what love is, you know. And that's vampirism. And like if you're giving all of yourself to someone, the only person who's going to take all of that is someone who's going to misuse it, because any healthy person would be like, hey, no, that's yours. Like, take care of yourself. Like, I think it's time for you to go to work, or for you to focus on this aspect of your life, or for you to go be with your friends now, because like we've had a lot of personal time. It's not someone who's going to like drain every ounce of your energy, or ask you to do things that are so uncomfortable for you and not something that you're wanting to do and you're feeling weird about.
Yeah. And see, I saw some things in the Pacific Northwest that I will never be able to unsee too, because it was like I was in this dark world almost, in my point of view. Okay, like if people think that's, I'm not judging, but in my inner core, like it was a very dark time. It was like the epitome of the symbolism of not only abandonment but rejection, and somebody that really doesn't, and psychosis, everything, right? But what it was happening was, I believe, was something to show me that a lot of what I was doing to myself was an illusion, you know. But I did start to realize that there were some, like I looked up narcissism, the sexual narcissism, covert narcissism. I started looking this up and saw just how diabolical this was, about how they kind of slowly bait you in to do this. And they kind of do it on an unconscious level in a way too. They justify it to themselves, but really what they're doing is they're feeding their own ego and their own self-esteem off doing what they're doing to you, you know.
Well, it's the chronic emptiness that people
Yeah.
feel, and then the parasite comes in very tempting to kind of lure you into this. And if you get caught up with it, and you find it's just like the drug, you feel, oh, it's fulfilling this need, and then you get addicted, and it's never going to be enough. So of course it has to get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger until you realize, hey, this isn't going to ever satisfy me. There is no deep well of satisfaction here, and then you're able to get out of it. But I think each one of us has to come face to face with the parasite at some point in our life. And for you, it was in this moment after we had like talked about it so much, and then it was like
Not
you
only
manifested
that,
it.
not only that, this person, like, I kind of took them under my wing, like in a in the media world, and they learned a bunch of stuff from me, only to go out and create their own deal behind the kind of, and then be like, look how aren't you proud of me, daddy? Right? I'm like, what are you doing? You're like betraying me here. You see what I mean? And it's like, when are you gonna wake up, Joe? Right?
Yeah, that's your
when,
boundary
yeah, when are you
wake-up
gonna wake
call.
up and start setting some real boundaries for yourself? And now that I've done that, and now I'm in this realm of like, so what's unconditional love? You know, how long do you let somebody just treat you a certain way before you say enough? Like, I'm worth what I want, you know. You see what I mean? Like, when I everybody wants, I think, something different. Like, I want somebody to step out for me and say, hey, I know this is Joe. This is my person. Not ashamed to say it, not hide me, not keep me under a bushel or something, and be proud to be next to me, kind of thing. And the reason I think that happens is I want that so much is that I attract things in my life that show me that you don't really need that, though. You need to be that person for yourself first, you know. I think that's because we're all still going through stuff. We're all still growing, you know.
It feels like I had a similar thing happen once, but it was weird because I never got to the point where the person was then like kind of abusing me on the other flip side, which is this stereotypical sociopath or narcissist. So I couldn't recognize, I was like, well, but is this person a sociopath? Or anyway.
Yeah. Right.
But what I do know, and I think part of the healing that can happen is just acknowledging the level of maybe attention that we want, which I think is basically what you're saying. You're saying like we need to give that to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
But I realized like, wow, I was really neglected as a child, and I really have a need for love and attention that might go beyond maybe what's healthy, or I can be susceptible to that. And also, there's something to be said, and I know Amelia can probably speak to this, but when you're coming into a certain level of power in your life, and when you're opening to the light, or when you're actually growing toward the light, I don't know if the parasite gets the message from across the world
Oh yeah.
and says like, hey, whoa, 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 we've got one headed to the light. Oh God, like go after him, go after her, like
Yeah.
now, time is of the essence, but I mean, I had not even really attracted that ever in my life. And so I'm like, where did this come from? And
Because you started growing really fast.
partially,
And
yeah.
that is exactly what happens. It's like there's an announcement in the realms, and you become seen just as much. The second you notice the parasite, like we spoke so much about the parasite, you guys were so aware of it. I was talking to it, and then I saw you both kind of like just invited in, and I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like I got so triggered. I was like yelling at both of you on one of our podcast recordings, and I thought, oh my God, I need to check myself, because what's happening? And I just said, okay, pause, time out, break. And I'm so proud of both of you to really like step back and look, and we all looked. I mean, just to take responsibility, because I think what happens in spiritual communities, especially when they start growing in the light, is that of course the darkness, these parasitic entities, these vampiric entities, they're all kind of conjured up because there's a new pulsation, and it's like new food. And so we have to be vigilant in our own way that we're monitoring our boundaries. And if we don't have really strong personal boundaries, they get in. It's just what happens. It's just a part of the practice. It's part of reality. It's like you have to clean your house once a week, else you're gonna have dust on the floor and dust on your furniture, right? You have to wash your clothes if you don't want animals growing in them, right? So it's just what we need to do. And the more and more aware you get, the more it becomes critical and dangerous if you don't do it. You're just endangering yourself when you know so much and yet you're not really taking care. I know that's been a huge thing for me, and I can look at back in retrospect and give thanks to all those horrible moments, like getting caught up in what you were just speaking to, Joe. Like I've been there. But that's how I learned, right? Because I don't know if I would have learned a different way, but now I can say, oh, okay, so that's not love. Like, okay, it felt good. It was seductive. It lured me in. I got caught up with it. I got the taste of power, but that's not where I want to go with it.
Yeah. They're convinced it's love, or they're trying to convince you it's love, but you know deep down in your intuition, this ain't right. You know it's not.
And maybe they go through their process and they come out the other side too. Like, who knows where your friend is at in that process. It's tricky because I think sometimes we want to demonize the person who's like bringing this to our awareness, but it's really our responsibility to trust ourselves and define our boundaries and just say no, like, no, thank you. I'm not interested in this kind of play or dynamic, right? And these are my priorities, and you need to back up because you're, trying to steal my energy. So enough.
Bill, I mean, you're right. If I would have done that, I would have been the actual agent of change in that person's life that I wanted to be, by setting my own boundaries as to what I'm going to put up with and not put up with, I think sometimes people need to see that too.
That's how we teach each other, I think, is just modeling it. Like, I know when I've been around someone who has really strong boundaries, I have a number of friends, even just this last weekend, there was this girl I was leading the class, and one of the guys was being really disruptive, and he like had his feet out on someone else's mat. And I was thinking, oh my God, do I need to kick this guy out of the class? And she was like, hey, you need to like get in your space. And she just reprimanded him. And I was so happy she had such a clear boundary for herself, because she knew the work we were about to do. And she just called her space. She didn't hesitate. Like, I hesitated because I was thinking, oh, this is going to sound rude. Oh, how am I going to say this so it's still nice? So I don't trigger the crap out of this person. I was processing how to hold my boundary, where she just like held it. And I can tell you, she taught me something so huge in that moment. Like, wow, I want to get to that moment where I'm not thinking about how to hold my boundary. I just hold it.
Yeah.
That, that's like next level for me.
And you'll
in those
attract
situations.
the right person in your life if you do that too. You'll attract a person that will respect you for it and not try to make you feel bad because you got boundaries or you're, this or that. And I think what happened to me was someone trying to tear down my boundaries to get to my energy core. And, like, as a man, I'm kind of a guy that I'm an emotional kind of guy. Like, I'm a sensual guy, and I need to be okay with that, and not have someone tell me I'm not man enough because I'm that way, because that's BS, and that's what I think.
I I think that is horrible when somebody says that to a man. Like, I don't think in all my relationships I ever said anything like that. I just feel like that's very, right then and there, that's kind of like, ding, ding, red flag. Like,
Oh,
you're not man enough. Like,
yeah.
what?
It's so
That's when I should have
like
went.
the whole
You know, get the hug.
emasculation.
Yeah.
Wait, what was
It-
that?
Just men feeling so emasculated. Like, I know I've been guilty of it on a number of occasions, not purposefully trying to do it, but because I'm like demanding or needing some sort of excellence or needing to be met in a certain way, accidentally I have like demeaned their manhood. And it's when I notice I've done it, I feel so horrible because I know how damaging and how sensitive men
It
are.
is. Yeah, it sucks.
It's horrible. It's horrible. And I've done it in many relationships. And it's not because I don't love or care for them. It's just like trying to, I don't know, get my needs met or try to teach a lesson, or maybe I'm challenging them because maybe my masculine energy is too strong and I know how to hold the feminine pull so well at certain times. So
But
it's
when you become
hard.
balanced, I
We're
think
all
you
in
would
it.
say, like, you would probably say, because this has happened to me before, where a person's like, hey, you need to take care of your stuff. So I know I've been showing you all this love and emotion and all this other stuff, but I'm just going to cut that off so you'll take care of your stuff without actually communicating it. Right? That's what messes people up. I think that messes people up. If you love somebody, come out and say, hey, maybe we've been spending a little bit too much time together, and I love all this stuff, but let's focus on, we need to focus on this thing here, right? Instead of, I'm going to manipulate the situation, just cut the emotion off, and then it doesn't really matter. They'll get the message and start taking care of their stuff. That's,
No,
to me,
that's
it's just as bad as it's bad, you know?
Well, Joe, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your vulnerable, beautiful heart with us. I know our listeners really probably appreciate hearing from a man's perspective and knowing that we're all human, that we're all in this, we're all trying to figure out right relation and healthy relation and returning to love. So thank you for listening, and I hope you'll join us next time. Take care. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you'd like to contact us and stay in touch with us, you can find us at lovesexagenda.com. That's lovesexagenda.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, Love, Sex, and the Hidden Agenda.